Hey everybody, it's Dana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm playing with the Gina K September 2021 release, and this is the Thankful Heart stamp set. I love the bold graphic flower and all the sentiments, and we're going to go ahead and start getting into the card. I'm using 3 inks, which is Red Velvet, Green Grass, and Tranquil Teal, and I'm also using the coordinating cardstock. I'm going to mass produce a couple cards using this new stamp set, and I am going to use my ink stand ink pad holder. This is such a nifty little tool. I'm so glad I have it now in my craft room. It's super easy to use with holding onto those smaller ink cubes. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring in my stamp set, and like I said, I love how bold this flower image is, but I'm going to show you how to quickly do birthday cards with just ink and some embossing. So I'm not necessarily going to color this. Sometimes I just don't have time to color up images, but I need to have quick cards. So this to me is kind of becoming my go-to because it allows me to quickly make my cards and add a little bit of a special touch to them without having to color. So I'm going to bring in my Misty, and I'm going to bring in that Tranquil Teal. I love this blue color. It's to me can go for a masculine or feminine card, so it's a great color blue. I am going to put that at the top part of my Misty, and I'm going to set the stamp where I have the flower or the bloom coming from the left hand bottom corner. Can go ahead and pick that up with my lid. Now, anytime you have an image like this and you really need to make quick cards, but again, you don't have time to color, you can easily do some ink blending and some embossing, and you can get an array of cards in really no time flat. I'm bringing in my powder tool here because, like I said, I am going to be doing some heat embossing. Now for this, I'm going to start off with some Versamark, and this Versamark is just a clear sticky ink that's going to allow me to put on that embossing powder. I make sure to kind of go all the way over the image, even the parts that are not actually going to be on the card panel, because I realize sometimes if you just try to stamp what's in the panel, you might not get a good impression. So I like to make sure to go all over the image and then stamp it down. You can see I'm really working with that Versamark because my ink pad is a tad bit dry. I need to refill it. So I just want to make sure that I get a good amount of ink down. And especially too, because this is a brand new stamp set and I had not conditioned it before I started stamping. I did make sure to bring in my pressing tool to make sure I can get a good impression of this. Now these are finer lines, so you can see me, I'm kind of like working my fingers across it as well, just to make sure that I get a good impression. Now you can double stamp this, triple stamp it, how many times you have to, but in my case, I just kind of want to see if I can do it one time. I'm kind of looking at it and I'm like, did I get a good enough impression? I think I did. So I'm going to go ahead and move into stamping on the other colors. Now, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to leave my stamp in there just in case I have to stamp this again. If I end up removing that image, I'm not going to be able to line that back up. So as I go ahead and I stamp the rest of these out, I just wanted to let you guys know that Gina's release is now available over on in the shop. There are so many great products this month, and I'm so honored that I get to at least play with one of them. I will be shopping for more though, so I'll make sure to have all the links down below in this description. And just remember that those links that I put below are affiliate links. They kind of like help me out with you know, paying for everything that I have to have in order to make these videos. So I thank you so much in advance for using those affiliate links. I'll go ahead and press down my last one, and this is in that Red Velvet. Absolutely love this color palette here because, again, this can go for feminine cards or masculine cards. So when I do birthday cards now, I'm trying to make sure that I can incorporate both male and female, because I have a tendency to have more female cards than I have male cards. So this is a great way for me to kind of build up my stash and knowing I can give them to one of my male friends or my female friends. Now I'm going in with my embossing powder, and I think I learned this tip from Mindy Egan, is to kind of put it on there and tap your embossing powder around before you like flick it off. A lot of times we kind of like dip in, move it, and then dump it. This way, if you do that, it gives you a more even coverage. So I'll show you one more time. So I'm going to grab out that embossing powder, kind of put it onto the card panel, and then I'm just gonna like shake it around before I dump it off. This way it allows me to get more of an even coverage than if I were just to put it on there and kind of let the embossing powder slide down the card. Now remember, anytime you're doing embossing, if you have any stray bits that you really don't want to be in your card panel, just be sure to grab a paintbrush, a dry paintbrush, and knock away any of that excess embossing powder that you might not want onto the cards. Now, if you're going to be splattering this with gold or something, don't even bother, because it'll just blend in with the gold shimmer spray. Now I went ahead and filled all of those cards up with the embossing powder, and now I can come in and heat set them. Again, you guys have seen me do this before. I like to go from the back of the card to the front of the card, making sure to keep my gun moving and not keeping it in one place for too long. This really helps to keep the bowing down that we get on our cards when we emboss with them. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all three of these, but you can see how gorgeous this lined image from the Gina K September 2021 release is going to look on this card. I mean, look how beautiful that is. All right, so I went ahead and I heat set all of them. Now it's time to come in with a sentiment. So there's plenty of sentiments, but again, I'm making birthday cards, so I'm going to use that sentiment. Now I'm going to be doing the same exact thing. I'm going to go ahead and stamp these onto each card panel, and I'm going to heat emboss this in the same gold. Now I can go ahead and remove that larger image because I don't have to stamp again. Remember, I kept that in there just in case I needed to double stamp these images. Now I would just go ahead and line up that birthday, and I'm going to kind of tuck it right in the top corner of my card panel. I am going to be trimming down this panel a little bit later, so I just want to kind of tuck it close to the embossed image, and I just need to make sure it's straight. If you guys saw my last video, I was a little bit off, so I had to restamp, but today I'm going to make sure I get it on the first try. I would come back in with that powder tool, doing the same exact process. I will stamp it with the Versamark and heat emboss it. Now I will tell you this, when you're using smaller sentiments, I wouldn't suggest pressing very hard. So you see I'm just kind of dancing my fingers across the sentiment because it is a thinner lined sentiment. I don't want it to go like flat and the letters kind of smush out. So I'm being very careful just to kind of tap my fingers across the sentiment. And I make sure to stamp each one of them twice just to make sure that I have a good coverage. So again, one more time, just dancing my fingers across, making sure not to press down because I don't want that image to bloom out. Now, since I have all of this done, again, I'm making multiple cards. So one shot, 3 cards. I can have these cards in my stash, and again, I can use them for masculine or feminine cards. I will go ahead and heat emboss all of these sentiments as well, and then we're going to step these panels up just a little bit. Now, I could have left the panels the way they are, but I decided to do some ink blending. So what I'm doing is just adding the same color ink. Again, this one is Red Velvet, around the card panel. This is going to kind of allow me to have a softer look in the middle of the card and a more dramatic look on the outside of the card panel. This is another way to add a little bit of more drama to your card panels, again, without having to color. I am going to make sure to use a lot of this ink just to make sure that I get that darker edges around in that lighter center. This is a perfect way to add color to your card without adding like other colors to your cards. Then you just want to kind of brush that off with your rag and clean up your desktop before you bring in the next color. So again, this color is the grass green. Now you're going to see how bold that the ink looks on this green cardstock. Even though it is the same exact color, it really shows right now on this screen. You can really see how I'm deepening up those edges, and I'm leaving like the center of the card a little bit softer. Again, a perfect way to mass produce your cards without having to spend the time to color each image. Again, I'm going to make sure to clean up my area before I go into my last panel. Now this panel is the Tranquil Teal. And again, look how gorgeous that looks. Now you can see the red velvet and the Tranquil Teal have a more like subdued look when I bring in the color around the edges compared to the green. All the cards are equally gorgeous, but I just kind of wanted to point that out to you. Some colors, the inking might look a little bit deeper. Other colors, it'd be more of a matchy-matchy. All right, now I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and I'm just going to trim this down. I want to mount this on a white card base, so I do want to trim this down. I have a tendency to trim from each side of the panel. So you'll see me flip my card over and trim about 1/8 of an inch off each side, just so that I know that my image is centered and my sentiment is centered, and also to get off any harsh lines that I might have achieved when I was doing my ink blending. You can totally leave this part out, but I just like to do this just to like clean up my edges. All right, I went ahead and I did that with all of the cards, and now it's time to bring in the card bases. So you guys know me, I usually use white card bases. That's just like my go-to, and it also allows me to be able to write a message in the inside without having to add another piece of paper. So this is going to be a standard A2 card panel, and I'm just using my EK Success tool to kind of line everything up and press down my score lines. So I'm going to make 3 card panels, and I'm doing the same exact thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut, and we're just going to go in to finish building up the card. Now I do want to pump up these panels. So instead of using my 3M foam tape, I decided to use some foam sheets instead. I like to kind of get them in the same color family as the card panel. So I just picked up some blue, some green, and a red piece, and I'm just trimming this down. Now you can see it easily cuts with my trimmer, but you can also use your scissors on this. I picked this foam up, I believe it was on Amazon, and if it's still available, I'll make sure to link it below. But I'm just making sure to trim down these panels so I have evenness all the way across my card panel without having to use up so much of my foam tape. Again, you can see it cuts really easily with the scissors, and then I'm just going to have that right in the middle. So you're not going to see it around the edges so much, but it'll be lifted evenly on my card. So now I can go ahead and start putting this together. So I just went ahead and grabbed myself some glue, and I make sure to fill in around the edges as well as in the center. And then I can take my beautiful card piece and lay this right on top. Now that is going to allow my card to be even all the way across. So there isn't going to be any sags. Using that wet medium allows me to kind of shift everything in place before it is permanent. So I'm going to do the same thing here again, just adding that glue all the way around, some in the middle, laying my foam panel up on my desktop, and then placing the card panel on top of that. I just kind of push it down, rub it a little bit. This one I got a little bit too high, so again, using that wet glue, I'm able to kind of quickly pick it up and adjust it. And now again, this is going to allow those card panels to be raised evenly onto my card bases. Now, if you don't have this, you could totally use cut out extra pieces of paper and place those behind your card panel, you can actually just place the colorful panel down without dimension. Or again, you can use your foam tape. Totally up to you. I'll go ahead and rub that down, flip that over, make sure I'm even on the back. And now we can go ahead and start putting these cards together. Again, by using a wet medium, this also is going to allow me to make sure I place this on my card panel evenly. So I'll just go ahead and flip this over, and then I can go ahead and press that down. Now I know everything's going to be perfectly raised up on my card panel. For an added touch, I am going to bring in some gems. These are a little bit too yellowy gold for me, so I'm going to grab in my Trinity Stamped pearls. These are gorgeous pearl embellishments, and I'm just going to add a few here or there on the card. I don't really want to add too many of these, but I do want to just bring in a little something to this. Now, even though I'm using pearls, I can still make this a masculine card because I don't have like a lot of shine to this. All right, I went ahead and did that for all of the cards. And again, I like odd numbers, so I put 3 at the top around the sentiment and 2 at the bottom. And there we have it, you guys. That is the Gina K Designs Thankful Heart stamp set. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Make sure to swing by the shop. The links are below. And you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.